Hi everyone, my name is Tara Westwell and welcome to my June reading wrap up, where we'll discuss all things books. Books I've read this month, my anticipated reads, and book releases I'm most excited for. It doesn't matter if you're able to read half a book, 2 books, or even 20 books this month. On this channel, all are welcome and you certainly won't be judged by me. This month I was able to read 5 books and yet again all of them were a fairly fun read. Out of those 5 books, 2 were fantasy, 1 was romance, 1 was a mystery thriller, and the final one was a romantasy. From the books I managed to read this month, 4 of them were for my Panic at the Book Club reads, where I read a book every single week and invite you to join in with me on whichever ones take your fancy. We read a wide range of genres. Why is that so hard to say? We read a wide range of genres and we accept your bookish feedback in a wide manner of ways. We also announce books at least 4 weeks in advance, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I have linked the intro video where you can find out more information on how you can take part. Also, if you're interested in a more in-depth discussion on any of the books we discuss in this video, then I'll also link those in the description as well. My month started off with fantasy book Godkiller by Hannah Kaner. Although I do usually prefer my fantasy books with a little bit more romance, that didn't stop me from rating this one a 4.5 stars. This book follows Godkiller Kissan as she finds herself with a god of white lies, a young noble girl and a disillusioned knight on a road trip, mission, quest thing.
Anyway, you need people of intelligence on this sort of mission, quest thing.
Well, that rules you out.
Pursued by demons and unknown assassins, they need to make their way to the ruined city of Blenraden so they can beg a favour of the last of the wild gods who reside there. I really enjoyed this one. The issue I find with a lot of fantasy books is that they spend so much time setting up. Like, the first one is often just world building and getting to know the characters, and although there was that in this book, it was still really enjoyable with an easy to follow narrative. Multiple POVs are usually not my cup of tea at all, but I think because all of the characters were pretty much together all of the time, it didn't seem to overcomplicate things. It was still really easy to follow, and it was interesting to experience it through the eyes of all 4 characters. If I compared this to any other book, it would probably be The Magician's Guild by Trudy Canavan, which is one of my favourite series of all time, or maybe something like Brandon Sanderson's The Final Empire. I think this is Hannah Kaner's first published book, and I enjoyed it so much that I have already added the second in the series to my wishlist. The next book we read I also rated 4.5 stars, and that was Belladonna by Adalyn Grace. This follows 19-year-old Signa, who was raised by a string of terrible guardians. She now lives with her only remaining family, the Hawthorns. Elijah Hawthorne is mourning the loss of his late wife, while his son is attempting to grapple control of the family's reputation, and his daughter is suffering from a mysterious illness. When their mother's restless spirit claims that she was poisoned, Signa's best chance of uncovering the murderer is an alliance with Death himself, a fascinating and dangerous shadow she seems to have a growing connection with. In all honesty, I had no clue what this book was about before picking it up, but I was pleasantly surprised. I was a little dubious at first. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of books that are set in the past. It's not a favourite of mine. However, after a while it didn't really seem like such a big focus, and by the second half I was definitely into this book. It was a fairly slow burn romance, which again isn't my favourite. However, it was done really well and I loved the ending. I thought it was a great setup for the next book, in which I am hoping there will be more romance. If I had to compare this to any book, it would probably be Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which, if you can't tell, is an amazing Pride and Prejudice retelling with a dark twist. Or perhaps more appropriately, Once Upon a Broken Heart, or if you wanted something with a little bit more spice, then maybe A Shadow in the Ember. Next on our book club list was The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. This was our thriller of the month, and it was a sci-fi murder mystery set in a dystopian future. This one earned a 3.25 star rating from me, which is the lowest of the month. However, I still really enjoyed it. The book follows an island of villagers and a few scientists who are surrounded by a fog that destroyed the world, killing everything it touched. When one of their beloved scientists is found brutally stabbed to death, it causes a lowering in the security system, which is the only thing preventing the fog from swallowing up the island. They now have 92 hours to find the killer in the hopes of stopping the fog. I enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really unique concept, and it wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be. The only reason I marked it down was because of personal preference. The biggest thing for me was just that in the beginning it was really slow. I found it really hard to pay attention at times, and it was difficult to follow, but by the second half it did pick up some momentum, and I really loved that ending. If I compared this to any other book, it would be Daisy Darker or Clara and the Sun. Both being totally different books, Daisy Darker is more of a murder mystery, while Clara and the Sun is more focused on the future and that sci-fi element. The final book for book club I rated 4 stars, and that was The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. My full discussion on this book will actually be available tomorrow on the 2nd of July. The X-Talk follows Shay and Dominic, two co-workers who, in a bid to keep their radio station going, co-host a new show called The X-Talk, where two exes give relationship advice live on air. The show is an instant hit, but when they start to develop feelings for each other, it could mean the end of their careers. This was such an easy read. I wasn't really sure about it in the beginning, however, I was soon pretty invested. I liked the characters, and they seemed pretty realistic in their struggles. Plus, for once in a romance novel, I think I was actually pretty surprised by the ending. I think it's in the nature of a romance book to often be quite predictable, but I wasn't fully expecting this one. I think if I compared this to any other book, it would probably be something by Emily Henry, probably Happy Place, or something a little different like Done and Dusted, where the focus was on radio instead of horses. There was some spice in this, and although I wasn't expecting it at all, I thought it was fairly well written. Anyway, that clears up any books I did for book club. What about any I managed to get to in my spare time? Well, this month I didn't actually get the time to do much reading outside of book club, so as promised I have managed to read the next one in the Throne of Glass series, which was Heir of Fire, and I have since moved on to Queen of Shadows. I read Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass in April, and Crown of Midnight in May, which you can see in those reading wrap-ups. However, if you haven't seen the videos, this is a romantasy series that follows Assassin Selena Sardothian. I won't go through my full description because at this rate I still have a few months left of the series, and it just seems a little bit odd to repeat the same information every month, so if you are interested in more information on the series, then I will link the previous 2 wrap-ups in the description. I do think I'll continue to read this series one after another, and then I'll probably take a well-deserved break from Sarah J. Maas before I continue with the ACOTAR series. Anyway, that concludes my list of books I've managed to read this month, and although it's not quite as many as some of the previous months, I think it's still a hell of a list. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for the amount of books you've managed to read. Unless you choose not to read any at all, then what are you even doing? As for next month's TBR, we have The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin, we have The Passengers by John Maas, and we're also reading Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I think I will finish Queen of Shadows and then move on to the next book in the series. I do have a super busy month coming up, but Perhaps I will finally manage to get to The Boy with the Haunted Heart, which is the second book after The Girl with No Soul. Besides that, let me know if there's any books you think I should add to my TBR. For any Powerless fans, Reckless finally comes out. I think when it arrives, I'm just going to have to lock myself in a room somewhere to give myself the best chance to just sit and read it in one sitting, because I am so excited to find out what happens. I can't wait. What Have You Done also comes out at the very end of this month. It's a small town thriller. One day, popular teen Diane is found dead, and the whole town is on edge knowing that someone among them is a killer. The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer comes out sometime around the 16th. It's about two boys who go missing for 6 months with no explanation of where they've been. 15 years later, Rafe still has no memory of what happened. But Jeremy's gonna have to come clean about their visit to a magical realm filled with impossible beauty and terrible danger in order to find Emily's sister. There is quite a lot of books coming out fairly soon that sound absolutely amazing, but in all honesty, if I only manage to get to Reckless, I will be happy. But let me know, are there any books coming out in July that you think I should add to my TBR? I didn't buy too many books this month, however, after a horrible week and an emergency trip to the dentist, I had to do something to cheer myself up. Once again, I ventured into Waterstones where I got these books. I got this copy of When the Moon Hatched. This book seems to have been everywhere recently, so if you haven't heard of this one yet, where exactly have you been? This is a romantasy that follows an assassin and a dragon rider who seek out the truths that threaten to unravel everything they know about their world. With details like that, you can't help but hope for a Fourth Wing / Throne of Glass vibe. I also picked up this copy of The Serpent and the Wings of Night. This one has been on my TBR for quite a while, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this one. It's an epic romantasy with magic and vampires. An adopted human daughter of a vampire king only has one opportunity to become something more than prey in a world that is designed to kill her. That is, to join the legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. And as you can imagine, winning won't be easy. I am hoping to do both of these books for book club soon, so if you have any particular interest in joining me, then feel free to let me know. Also, follow me on Book Talk or Instagram to find out which books will be coming up next. I also got When Women Were Dragons from a small bookstore in Marlborough. It's a coming-of-age feminist novel with a fun fantasy twist, and I just thought it sounded so unique and different, and I'm really looking forward to this one. This book I didn't actually get this month. I got it quite a while ago, but I just wanted to show you, and that's my copy of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Mina Lima. And if you don't know, Mina Lima do fantastic illustration and pop-up designs of some classic books, and I think they're also making their way through the Harry Potter series. They just have tons of interactive elements that are just really fun and sweet, and even their more simple illustrations that aren't pop-up, again, are really stunning, and just look at that. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, and if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It is always appreciated, and I will see you next month. Bye!